We have a very, very full agenda, and one of the things that's wonderful about it is that it's so cross-disciplinary, multidisciplinary speakers. Our students and faculty from the university and professionals in the field. It is a wonderful collaborative effort, and we thank you very much. I'm going to be giving you a rundown in more detail on the day in a few moments, but I have pleasure in introducing my colleague Brent Gallup. What's not in his bio that you wouldn't see, but I'll tell you about him anyway, is that Brent is a very sneaky person. He has this. He's the senior associate dean in the school, and he's in charge of the faculty, which means that he can work magic, because you wouldn't know this, of course, but university faculty members are, well, a tad, difficult at times, but Brent has this magical ability to get people to do things, and so this happened with me, because I was here 6 years ago as a visiting professor, and I did some teaching, and then Brent one day came to me and said, "Well, we'd like you to stay." I said, "Well, that's very flattering. Enormously flattering, but I couldn't do that because of, this and this and this." He said, "Oh, yeah, we can take care of that and that and that." I said, "Oh, well, but you couldn't take care of this. Oh, yeah, we can take care of all that stuff." And so, lo and behold, I end up staying. So 5 years later, Brent calls me up and said, "Well, I want you to be the director of the Monieson Center." I said, "Oh, no, Brent, I couldn't possibly. Yolande Chan was just so fat. I couldn't possibly replace her. There's this and this and this. Oh, we can take care of that and that and that." And so on and on. Eventually, I got just so exhausted of coming up with excuses that I said yes, and here I am. But along with Brent's sort of magic in dealing with people, he's a very distinguished research scholar and a wonderful teacher. And he was one of the early and founding directors of the Monieson Center. He's the founder of our Decision Sciences Center, Executive Decision Center, has done a great many administrative jobs in the school, and been part of building the Queen's School of Business into a very significant international institution. And so for Brent, we thank you very much for all of that, and I would like to welcome you to say a few words on behalf of the Dean.
Thank you, Scott. Your praise is damning. I take no credit. I found that if you take credit, you also take a lot of heat. And so I take very little credit for bringing Scott. Scott's just a tremendous person. You probably don't know it, but he was the dean at the Laurier Business School before he came here. I mean, his accomplishments are many. And of course, Yolande. Yolande is a Rhodes Scholar, and she's a major part of the Queen's School of Business. So, I mean, it's really nice to do a job where you've got great people. And that's really what this conference is all about today, in my opinion. It's bringing together great people into a forum where you can share ideas, share knowledge, and really come away with some things that are going to motivate you and help generate new ideas for the future. So it's, again, my privilege to welcome you here to this conference. The Queen's School of Business is proud to be one of the world's leading business schools, and we're recognized as such. Our graduates are known for the impact they make to business and organizations around the globe. And our faculty are amazing. Our faculty produce international recognized research in leadership and management. Our students and our faculty, however, aren't just global, they're local. And so our students engage in many activities that help the local community. Our faculty are on boards and are on committees across Eastern Ontario. Okay. And at today's conference, you're going to hear some examples of the local impact that we have. So for example, our Bachelor of Commerce and MBA students have provided free business consulting to small businesses and community organizations thanks to funding from the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. You'll hear about faculty-led research on entrepreneurial incubators, funded by the Economic Developers Council of Ontario. And you will hear some of the initial findings from the Monieson Centre's Research Partnerships Project, funded by the Social Sciences and Humanities Council of Canada. Developing research and programs is one of the main skills of the Queen's School of Business. Okay, we have been doing this for quite a number of years. But the Monieson Centre has really taken a lead in all of these new efforts. The Monieson Centre was named after a very good friend of mine, the late Danny Monieson. He was a remarkable marketing professor, one of the best I think we've ever had. But he had the idea that you had to connect businesses, real businesses and real organizations with the research that the business school can do. And so since its inception in 1998, the Monieson Centre has continued Danny's legacy of thinking about business research and tying it to real-world needs. The Centre has succeeded in doing this through collaborative interdisciplinary research teams and linking them with the business and community partners. And this conference is a showcase to this. It really is highlighting the Research Partnerships Project as an exemplar of this approach of connecting business research and business needs. This project brings together Queen's School of Business faculty with researchers from geography, development, and policy studies from 5 different academic institutions. The team is linked to over 40 community partners to ensure that research studies address real business issues and economic development needs. The Queen's School of Business is proud to be a sponsor of this Research Partnerships Project. The project reflects the innovation, collaboration, and really the high standard of quality that the Queen's School of Business expects. The Research Partnerships Project is producing academic research shaped by community partners to enhance the economic and social well-being across Eastern Ontario. As Scott mentioned, as Associate Dean and as a former past director of the Monieson Centre, it has really been exciting to see how the centre has developed and is now making an impact on the businesses and communities here in Eastern Ontario and around the globe. So on behalf of the Queen's School of Business, I want to welcome you to Kingston, and I hope you enjoy your day, and we hope to see you again at another conference in the near future. Thank you very much.
There we go. Okay, well, Brent stole half my lines, so there we go. So just in the next few minutes, I'd like to run through basically 4 themes to fill in a little bit more about the Monieson Centre, talk about the project, talk about what we've learned throughout this and other projects in the centre about economic development priorities in our broader region, and then just give you a bit of an outline of today's event. So about the Monieson Centre that he has done. So we're about a dozen years old, and we're in the university environment. We are what's called a Senate-based research center. So we fall under the guidelines of the university as a whole. We report to the faculty dean, but it's a very significant research center at Queen's. It's just that we have 2 differences from most research centers, and one of them is that we're, as Brent said, we're very focused on essentially applied research, and this was, I think, Danny's real innovation was to recognize that universities tend to be very siloed and just in the nature of academic research can become very esoteric, and in doing that become detached somewhat from the actual purpose for which the research was intended. And so the Monieson Centre is avowedly focused on making sure that research that we do actually has practical application, and that's very important. The other thing that's pretty much unique about it, and as Brent said, it's about the conference here today, is that in universities, it's very easy to become very specifically siloed. It's just the way universities are organized, and it's the way a scholar's life develops, as you become expert in a very narrow area. And so what the Centre does is very specifically searches out people across the university, outside of the university, in the community, to bring together collaborative multidisciplinary research teams and to design its projects like the SHIRK project that we're looking at to be multidisciplinary. And these days in academia, we all talk about multidisciplinary research. It never happens unless you make it happen. And that, to Yolande's enormous credit, is what's happened here, and that's what you'll see. Now, the Monieson Center, throughout its history, has been a bit of a think tank that's gone in different directions, as seemed to be appropriate at the time. I mean, in Brent's day, it was in the middle of the tech bubble, and of course, it had a very information management systems focus in those days. And then, and Yolande's time is the current theme, which we're continuing to pursue. And then we're just on the cusp of opening a new theme in the business of healthcare, where we feel that we have a unique niche and will be able to continue Yolande's tradition of gathering together people from across the university, outside the university, and the medical practitioners. So once again, it will have that same basic approach to multi-stakeholder collaborative research. So in terms of revitalization projects, we've had projects largely of two sorts. One have been large regional projects, of which this one is one, and some local community projects, which you've seen there. What it's done in aggregate is it's given us, within the center and with you, a fairly good and comprehensive feel of what major problems are out there to be addressed and how we might go about addressing them. So about the specific project. Well, there are two big objectives, and one of them is to strengthen our relationships with most of you, with the wide variety of organizations and institutions with whom we've been able to collaborate and to develop as associates, because it's essentially together that we're going to solve problems, not in isolation from one another. And the other thing is in following the theme of being as very practical and applied, it is to discover as best we can what the real problems in communities are, and then address our attentions to resolving those rather than thought-based projects. So the current SHIRK project is for 3 years. We're a year into it now, and this is the first of 3 that we'll be doing. This is kind of our kickoff, and we hope you'll be coming back again next year and the following year as we get a richer and richer feel for how we might address many of the problems that you'll hear being addressed throughout the conference today. Brent mentioned this. We've got 14 researchers and 5 institutions. Notice the spelling of Wilfrid Laurier, please. It's not Sir Wilfred, Alison. But this, I think, is... well, you laugh, Brent, but Alison and I have a little rueful joke that we've managed to get her name tag with Sir Wilfrid. I was the dean there for 10 years. I killed people who did that. So, but anyway, so we've... but we will, we've for this project have I think done a fabulous job of bringing a large number of people together. We have 14 community-based research studies, and you can see, and I won't read them to you, but this is the list. And I will point out that in your package today, there's a very good summary of each of the research projects in this grant, and a summary that gives you the stage of development of each. It's very, very comprehensive. We have 40 community partners. Again, I won't read them to you, but I will note the leadership team and the steering committee have been instrumental in moving this forward as financial supporters, as managing and directing the project, as participating in it, as providing sites for research, and hopefully the output will be beneficial to all. It's a fairly large grant. The leadership and steering committee team are about a third of it in financial support that they have and other kinds of support that they've provided, and the SHIRK grant itself, Social Science and Humanities Research Council, if you were wondering what all these... See, universities are wonderful with all these acronyms. You really need we need a glossary for the terms. So what are some of the priorities? We've identified, we've over the last 4 years have done a large set of discovery workshops, the main purpose of which has not only been to provide to those communities the sort of status of the research as it has progressed so far, but to ensure that we are clearly understanding what problems are to be addressed and to see if we can participate in helping communities to begin to address the problems for which they've defined themselves. We certainly, and we'll see in a moment, that one thing that we've discovered is that the landscape is changing in many of the communities from which we all come, and in some sense surprising but very encouraging ways. So the workshops have used actually Brent's former shop in executive decision making, and we've been able to use the processes of the decision center in the collaborative workshops. There we go. And here's a list of past workshops and those that are upcoming. This means that Jeff, who does most of these, shows up for the office. We give him his instructions for the week, and he drives off and meets with many of you. So just have a look at this. Excuse me, the sort of list of themes, kind of the then and now, and a very short time. I'll have a summary slide in a second, but if you just notice small business development, which is the top theme, and look where it appeared. It was fourth in our earlier stage workshops. Skills training in 08 to 010's workshops was at the bottom of the thematic list, and now it's located around the top. And if you looked at local data and demographics, that's not even on the list, is it? So it does sort of suggest that if these are the emerging themes across a wide range of communities, what are communities gravitating toward? Well, I mean, sort of the sustainable economic development, competitive advantage, and economic diversification were the primary themes, but now it's entrepreneurship. And then what are the enabling conditions of entrepreneurship? Skill sets and local data. And that's a very, very, I mean, you can see that for many communities across North America that were resource-based towns, for instance, or had major employers, hoping that the time will come again when the mine reopens or the mill starts up again is probably not going to happen. But entrepreneurship and that spirit of entrepreneurship and the information and skills to engage that entrepreneurial spirit and is frankly what we're discovering as the way forward in communities. So today's conference. Well, those are the 4 themes that you will see in the program. We're very excited to hear the panels discuss them. And the objective, as we've mentioned before, is to connect the research with the actual development needs of the province. We are in our sessions today kind of in early stages of the major portions of the research grant, and so much of the discussion is going to be an amalgam of topics and themes that the Monieson Centre has been pursuing for the last several years. We're very pleased to have welcome Dr. Mark Roseland from Simon Fraser University and Ted Hsu, our Member of Parliament. We had a very engaging dinner last night with Mark, and I'm excited to hear what he has to say to us. So there's a website which you can access actually in this way or through the Monieson Centre's direct website, which is a very comprehensive compendium of research activities and things that we've been doing on this major theme. We'd like to thank very much the leadership team and the steering committee. The Vice Principal's Office for Research has been very helpful to us in putting on today's event, and we thank them. And we'll hear from Susan Marlin at the end of the day today. And thank you very much to the Social Sciences Humanities Research Council.